Okay, we are back. It has been all day long. I've got the oven preheating to 400 degrees for my cornbread. This is the roast. It is nice and bubbling. We will look at that. Trying to get that a good look. Maybe. Doesn't that look good and savory? Let me get a fork. If I don't. Hush, Kit. Don't do this without. Look at that. My gravy. Ooh, look at that good juice gravy. Let me feed the kitten before she starves to death, she thinks. That is our rescue kitten, and she is just eats constantly. Okay, we're going to go over here because I usually cook everything here, mix it up, but my thing is here, so we can't. I went ahead and turned it off. I'm going to put the lid back on it to keep it nice and warm. I'll get us a bowl to mix with. Okay, so I do not measure things, as y'all know, but I am going to try to measure my milk for my cornbread. I measure a little bit. I just usually don't measure the milk. I guess I should have got this prepared first. Since we're not going to be using the stove area to be cooking, I'm going to go ahead and move you over here. There we go. That looks about right. Yep. Okay. So, cornmeal. You start off with cornmeal. 2 cups. Okay, we did 2 cups of cornmeal, just plain everyday cornmeal. Now you can use the mixes, but I don't. I use just plain cornmeal. And a rule of thumb is 2 cups of flour or cornmeal or whatever. You use 1 tablespoon of baking soda. Baking soda. You can use generic. Most people use Clabber Girl. It's an odd name, but that's the name of it. Get it good. I tell you, everything's in the dishwasher. And put a little salt in it. Oh, about a teaspoon or less. I just sprinkle some in it. I don't use a lot of salt for it. So, about a teaspoon or less. And then I always stir up my dry ingredients before I put my wet in. And I'm going to put about a 1/4 cup of flour in this. That just helps it not crumble. About a 1/4 cup of flour so it doesn't be so crumbly, because I always do crumbly cornbread. Stir your flour in your cornmeal. And you can do half cornmeal and half flour if you want. I make it that way sometimes. I put about a 1/4 cup of sugar in it. 1/4 to half, depending on how sweet you want it or how bitter. Because to me, cornbread is bitter. Just regular cornbread is bitter. I always put a 1/4 cup of sugar in it to take the bitterness out. Always. I mean, you can even put more sugar in it if you want it sweeter. Okay, I've poured the milk, about a 1.5 cups. Actually, I measured it out. It's a 1.5 cups of milk in there. This is my skillet that I am going to be doing my cornbread. This is bacon grease. I'm just pouring some in the bottom of it. Get it good and, about a 1/4 cup. I like mine with a lot of grease, makes it crunchy. And I'll put this in the oven, 400-degree oven. That was probably a 1/4 cup of oil, if you want to use oil or whatever. And I usually, do the bacon grease if I have it. And you always want to put oil. Let's see what size this is. This is a 1/4 cup. You want to put a 1/4 cup of oil in your mixture also. And I'm just going to use this bacon grease. It's handy. You can use grease, butter, any kind of fat. We're just going to use the 1/4 cup is what it goes in it. I usually do a 1/4 cup of oil. This is messier, very messy. Let me get a rag. Okay. 2 eggs. Goes for 2 eggs. They don't have to be beaten up before they go in. You can beat them up before you go like that. It's totally up to you. I don't. To me, it wastes dirty. It makes an extra dirty dish, and it wastes time. So we're going to start pouring. So I got my oil and my eggs. We're going to start pouring. I'm going to pour about a cup of milk in to begin with. That's about a half left. I don't know exactly how much milk we're going to use because, like I said, I don't measure my milk usually. I just look at let's see if you can see that. Just beat it up good. Kind of like brownies. It's kind of thick at first. And that's too thick. Add about a 1/4 more cup of milk. Who knows, I might have to get an icebox to get the milk back out. That's getting better. That's better. That's about how you want it. So we used about a 1.25 cups of milk. That looks good to me. And while we've been mixing this, our skillet is getting hot in the oven. Might as well just pour the other 1/4 cup in. It's going to be more runny. So anywhere from that's really runny now. Anywhere from a 1.5 to 1.25 cup of milk. I just never have measured my milk. I did when I first started cooking. That's a little runny, but that's alright. If you do get it too runny, this is a good lesson. If you do get it too runny, get a little bit of flour. This is less than a 1/4 cup of flour, and just sprinkle it in. If you get it too runny, you can just put a little flour in it, and it will take up the extra moisture. good lesson in that. There we go. We got it back. So. You do want your skillet or pan. It doesn't have to be a skillet. I use just pretty well everything cast iron, so that's just me. Our skillet was in the oven getting hot. Make sure you can still see good. Yep. We're just going to pour that right in it. And you can see how the oil overlapped, and see how it's already cooking a little around the edges because it's really hot oil. And you cook it till it is golden brown. Everyone's is different. I like mine crunchy on the edges. So that's why I do that way. Always clean up as you go. That way you have less mess when you're done. Okay, I'm going to put you on pause until cornbread is ready. Okay, it's been about 25 minutes. I put the bread in, cornbread. I'm getting it out now. I set the timer for 22 minutes and I left it in just a little bit longer because I like mine crunchy and golden brown. So isn't that pretty? That off. Let me get a butter knife. Isn't that pretty? And then you just cut it. You can leave it in longer if you want it more brown. I mean, isn't that beautiful? So there you have it. You just cut it in half, put butter on it, or crunch it up in your juice or whatever. So there's supper. We did the roast and now the cornbread that goes in it. Happy eating!